One crime, 1,000 questions. Welcome to True Crime Briefing, where the truth is never buried for long.
Griffin, Georgia. A quiet southern town steeped in small-town charm and Sunday traditions. But on the night of August 1st, 2018, the air was thick, not with summer heat, but with something darker. A young woman named Katherine Higdon dialed 911 in tears.
911, what's your emergency?
Her boyfriend, Freeman, had just been shot. She claimed it was an accident, that the gun just went off. But as investigators stepped into the dimly lit bedroom, they found inconsistencies that would spark a firestorm of suspicion. What really happened that night behind closed doors? Was Katherine a battered girlfriend who finally snapped? Or a manipulative killer who rewrote the narrative? This is the case of Freeman, and a woman who walked free. Welcome back to True Crime Briefing. Today, we unravel a case that ignited heated debates across Georgia and beyond. A love story that turned into a courtroom drama, where truth battled manipulation, and justice may have lost. Freeman was known as a kind soul, easygoing, dependable, and deeply loyal to those he loved. Friends say he had a calming presence and a quiet strength. He wasn't flashy, just solid. The kind of person who showed up, who meant what he said. Katherine Higdon was more fiery, outgoing, emotional, and full of energy. She worked as a preschool teacher and loved being around children. But she also had a reputation for mood swings. One moment cheerful, the next suddenly cold or withdrawn. She could be intense, but people chalked it up to passion. When Stephen and Katherine met, there was chemistry right away. Their relationship moved fast. They shared everything: an apartment, pets, routines. They appeared close, affectionate. To the outside world, they seemed like a couple headed toward marriage. But those closest to them noticed cracks. Friends saw them argue often. Family sensed tension that never quite resolved. It wasn't just the usual fights. It was a cycle. Anger, apology, then affection, only for things to flare up again weeks later. Behind closed doors, the love that had once brought them together was slowly becoming the thing pulling them apart. The gun wasn't new. It was a Smith & Wesson Bodyguard .380. Compact, sleek, and easy to hide. Stephen had purchased it months earlier, not out of fear, but responsibility. He believed in protecting the home he and Katherine shared. Georgia is an open carry state, and Stephen often kept the weapon nearby, especially at night. The gun was usually stored in a case or up high, out of reach, but over time, its location became inconsistent. Sometimes it was in the nightstand, other times on a shelf, or even in a kitchen drawer. It wasn't carelessness, it was familiarity. Stephen never thought twice about it, but Katherine knew exactly where it was. She had seen him handle it, load it, clean it. She'd even held it a few times. And though she never trained with it, she wasn't afraid of it either. What no one knew, not Stephen, not friends, not family, was that this gun, bought for protection, would become the central figure in a tragedy no one saw coming. Just 2 days before the shooting, July 30th, things still looked normal. Stephen and Katherine exchanged their usual messages. Good morning. I love you. It was a ritual, a habit of checking in, even after arguments. But beneath those texts, emotions simmered. By the next day, July 31st, things had clearly taken a turn. The warmth was gone. Another fight, maybe the same one they'd had 100 times, had erupted again. This time, Stephen didn't go home. He spent the night at a friend's place, Thomas, trying to cool off. He ignored Mary Katherine's messages and declined her calls. He even told his mother he didn't plan to go back. He had reached a breaking point. Meanwhile, Mary Katherine was spiraling. She texted, she called, she waited. Then, trying to reset things, she cooked his favorite dinner. Chicken, mashed potatoes, green beans, the comfort food of reconciliation. Still, Stephen didn't come home. Growing anxious, she reached out to Stephen's mother, hoping for answers. That's when she found out where he was, still with Thomas. Fueled by frustration, desperation, or maybe hope, Mary Katherine got in her car and went out looking for him. And when she finally found them, Thomas driving, Stephen in the passenger seat, she pulled up, rolled down her window, and shouted at him. She didn't beg. She didn't threaten. She just asked, "Are you coming home or not?" Stephen paused, sighed, then nodded. Maybe he was tired. Maybe he wanted to avoid another fight. Or maybe, deep down, he believed things could still be fixed. He got in the car with her. 2 hours later, he was fighting for his life. The exact details of what happened inside that apartment on August 1st are still debated to this day. But what's certain is this. Sometime around 10 p.m., a 911 call came in.
911, what's your emergency?
Mary Katherine's voice trembled. She told the dispatcher her boyfriend had been shot in the chest and begged them to come quickly. She said he was still breathing. When first responders arrived, they found Stephen lying on the bed, blood pooling beneath him. A single gunshot wound to the chest. He was alive, but barely. Mary Katherine stood nearby, her hands shaking, tears streaming. She said it was an accident, that she never meant to hurt him. Stephen was rushed to the hospital. He died shortly after arrival. Back at the apartment, police secured the scene. The gun lay on the bed. There was no sign of a struggle. No overturned furniture. No broken objects. Just a half-eaten dinner, a neat bed, and one life. Gone. From the very beginning, the case raised questions. Was this a tragic accident or something else? Prosecutors didn't buy the accident narrative. They pointed to the grease stains on the gun, suggesting it had been handled with deliberate intent. Blood was concentrated in one corner of the bed, indicating Stephen had been sitting upright when he was shot, likely unarmed and unaware. Witnesses began to paint a troubling picture. Friends described heated fights. Stephen's mother spoke of past threats, how Mary Katherine had once pulled a gun on him before. Co-workers mentioned seeing bruises or hearing Stephen say he didn't feel safe anymore. Then came the inconsistencies. During questioning, Mary Katherine gave 6 different versions of what happened. In one, the gun went off by accident. In another, she didn't even know it was loaded. Later, she claimed she grabbed it during a fight, unsure how it discharged. The defense shifted gears. Now they claimed self-defense. Suddenly, the narrative had changed completely. Mary Katherine's legal team introduced a new story, one they said had been hidden by shame and fear. They claimed Stephen Freeman wasn't the gentleman everyone thought he was, that behind closed doors, he was controlling, manipulative, even abusive. She testified that Stephen demanded to know her every move, controlled her finances, even dictated how she folded his laundry and laid out his shoes. She told the court she often walked on eggshells, afraid to say the wrong thing, afraid to spark an outburst. She accused him of grabbing her, shaking her, hitting her. Twice, she said, he forced himself on her sexually. Once after a Disneyland trip when he allegedly told her he deserved something in return. To support her claims, The defense submitted 63 pages of text messages Stephen had sent her after a past breakup. Angry, vulgar, even threatening. She also revealed the meaning of a phrase he used often: the Red Room. According to Mary Katherine, it was his way of warning her that a violent night was coming. An expert testified that her behavior matched the pattern of battered woman syndrome, that she stayed because she was scared, not weak, and that she had grabbed the gun on August 1st out of desperation, not rage. But the prosecution came prepared. They pointed out that Mary Katherine had never mentioned abuse to police. Not once. No medical records, no photos, no previous complaints, no 911 calls, nothing. And then a twist. Investigators uncovered Mary Katherine's browser history. Just hours before the shooting, while she was babysitting, she had visited adult websites that featured violent and aggressive content. Stephen wasn't even around. Why, the prosecution asked, would someone traumatized by abuse seek out such material? Mary Katherine claimed it was an attempt to please Stephen, that it had nothing to do with her own desires. But doubts lingered. There were also major errors in the police work. The confession Mary Katherine allegedly gave was lost because the audio from her recorded interview had failed. And the gun? Officers had moved it and failed to photograph its original position. Chain of evidence was broken. These gaps didn't clear her, but they made things murky. And in court, murky can be enough. After a short 4-hour deliberation, the jury returned. Mary Katherine Higdon was acquitted on all charges. Some jurors later admitted that while they had personal doubts, the prosecution hadn't proved its case beyond a reasonable doubt. The investigation had been sloppy, the physical evidence incomplete, and Stephen's own phone, its contents never accessed, might have shed more light. The verdict stunned the courtroom. On June 26, 2019, Mary Katherine walked out of jail a free woman. Thank you for watching True Crime Briefing. If you're drawn to real-life mysteries, subscribe and hit the bell for weekly stories that expose the darkest corners of human behavior. Until next time, stay safe and stay curious.